Hey everybody, in this video we're going to be talking about rhetorical ploys. It'll be the last section of chapter 2 and probably the last section before you guys take your big test on Friday. So let's dive right in. Rhetorical ploys. A rhetorical ploy is a ploy or like a tactic or strategy. You might have heard of rhetorical tactics. Anyway, a rhetorical ploy is a ploy, tactic, or strategy to persuade someone of something by using rhetoric rather than argument. Or if you remember, rhetoric uses reasons, argument doesn't use reasons. Okay, so you're trying to convince someone that some proposition P, which stands for proposition, is true. Okay, so let's dive right in. You'll notice that I'm using a document, a Word document, rather than my usual whiteboard, just because I think for this one it's easier. I have uploaded this on Canvas for you to be able to follow along with. So yeah, I normally like to hand out physical copies and students write notes on the copy as they go. So maybe you can do that too, if that's available to you. Okay, so let's just dive right in. Appeal to novelty, an attempt to persuade someone that P is true. For example, that something is good by appealing to people's desire for novelty. All right, so as humans, we like the new thing, and it moves. It's like, ooh, what's this? It's new. And as much as we like the new thing, that can actually move us to ignore reasons and go just be persuaded just by the fact that it's new. So it might be, oh, this is the new iPhone, whatever, or smartphone, or whatever, or this is the new trend, or this is the new whatever. Okay. And again, I think instead of asking, is it new, we should always ask, is it good? Or do we have good reasons to? So yeah, it's a new phone or it's a new this. But do I actually have a reason to invest myself monetarily or time or energy-wise in this thing? So watch out for that. And that's rhetorical ploy. And notice these are people using arguments. They're not saying it's new, therefore you should get it. If you put it like that, it's obvious how bad the argument is. It's more they're just like the fact that it's new and they're using the novelty of it. They're using that to persuade you, even if they don't directly say it. And that's where they're using appeal to novelty as a rhetorical ploy. Okay, so that's the first one. And let's go to appeal to popularity. And as we go over these, you'll see that a lot of them are pretty similar. They have a lot in common. So appeal to popularity. An attempt to persuade someone that P is true, for example, that something is good, by appealing to people's desire for popularity, or people's desire to do what everybody else is doing. Okay. Now, very similar to appeal to novelty, we also really want to do things that are popular. Now, the difference between novelty and popularity is novelty just means it's new. Popularity means a lot of people like it. Okay? And again, watch this for yourself. Am I just getting into this or liking this because other people are? That's what you want to watch out for. Am I just jumping on the bandwagon? People do this with sports teams. Oh, everybody likes the Warriors. Maybe that's a couple years old now, but everybody else like this. So I'm going to jump on the bandwagon. Anytime anybody's jumping on a bandwagon, that probably means they're being moved by the appeal to popularity. Okay, and again, yeah. So again, watch yourself. Am I just accepting this because it's popular? Okay, or am I accepting this because I have good reason to? Argument, and that's where you can not be swayed by the rhetoric, but you can just be focused on the arguments and reasons. Okay, appeal to compassion, pity, or guilt. One more thing about appeal to popularity. I've been noticing lately, one way this happens is not, I was using more like advertisements and trends, but this also happens with activist groups too. It can be really trendy to be anti this or anti this, that, or pro this or pro that, based on, let's say, whoever popular person is endorsing it, and like a tweet might go viral or a video might go viral, and so everybody's accepting a certain thing, and that's where you want to stop and be like, is this slogan, is this view, is this group do we actually have good reason to believe it, or is this just right now the popular thing to be condemning nowadays? Okay. Now, maybe it's both popular and good to condemn, or popular and good to support, uh, but that's where you just want to be careful. I've been noticing that as our culture gets more morally outraged by things, be watchful for accepting things just because you see a lot of people accepting it or condemning it or whatever. Okay, let's go to appeal to compassion, pity, or guilt. Okay, so that's an attempt to persuade someone that P is true, for example, that something is good, by appeal to people's compassion, pity, or guilt. That's pretty straightforward, I guess. And if you understood the first two, this one should be very straightforward as well. One example that this could be used is a lawyer is trying to justify their client. Let's say they're the defendant, okay, and then they might try to say a lot of things that make you feel bad for the person. They make you feel pitiful or compassionate for the person. Okay, now they might say those things, but that's going to be irrelevant to the question of whether they're guilty or not, right? Or whether they actually did commit the crime. Okay, that's totally irrelevant. That's two very different questions. So watch for this sort of thing where people will make you feel really bad for a certain group, and maybe we should feel bad. Like, nobody's saying compassion is a bad thing, right? It's when they use that compassion and manipulate you into accepting something that the reasons don't support. Okay, so I think this happens with lawyers and happens in other cases. Now, as I'm talking about these examples, try to think of your own, and then we're going to discuss some of them in the Zoom class so that we can apply them more directly to our real lives. Okay, appeal to cuteness. And I guess I'll go through these two at the same time. An appeal to sexiness. So an attempt to persuade someone that P is true or that something is good by appealing to people's enjoyment of cuteness. And similarly, appeal to sexiness, an attempt to persuade someone that P is true or that something is good by appealing to people's enjoyment of sexiness. Okay, so now these two you can see very much in advertisements. For appeal to cuteness, for anything you're trying to persuade people, add a puppy. And then they'll be like, oh, and then they'll just more likely to believe what you're saying is true. I mean, it's just how we are as humans. And same for appeal to sexiness too. The example I'm going to use is a little more dated, but a lot of car magazines, they would just have a scantily clad woman next to the car. And then it's like, oh, suddenly now, yeah, I ought to buy that car. Right? Okay, now, again, nobody's making an argument here. There is a scantily clad woman by the car, therefore I should buy the car. That's a horrible argument. But just by having that sexiness going on there, having the sexiness in there, you'll get more people inclined to accept the thing, accept the claim, like you should buy this car. Okay, so this will be the last one for this video. Appeal to wealth, status, power, hipness, coolness. You guys are getting the idea, right? They're all just things we like and admire as humans. Cuteness, sexiness, compassion, popularity, novelty. These are all things we like. Okay, so, and they're attempting to persuade us that some proposition is true or that some X is good by appealing to our desire to be or look like we are healthy, powerful, hip, cool, or have status. Okay, now, when you read each of these examples, you should be like, oh, that's dumb. I mean, who would fall for that? We all do. And here's why. Advertisers spend millions of dollars every year to use these things, and they work. I mean, when they do implement these strategies in their commercials and so on, sales go up. That means they're working on human beings. So it's easy to be like, to look at this list and be like, duh, yeah, we already know this. And yet, we are the people that the advertisers are exploiting. So watch for this. Try to think of your own examples because it's valuable to connect what we're learning in class, and then we'll talk about these during the Zoom session. Okay, we will move on to the next video after this.